If you overstated your turnover or you made mistakes on your bounce back loan application, even by mistake, you need to listen closely because authorities and lenders now have a detailed red flag identifying potential fraud. An aggressive recovery action is about to start. There are thousands and thousands of directors who took bounce back loans during COVID to survive, but minimal verification checks clearly led to mistakes, inaccuracies and outright fraud. Now the Department for Business and Trade, HMRC and the lenders have clearly compiled detailed lists identifying directors who overstated their turnover intentionally or otherwise. They already know, guys. Now if you're stressed, anxious or uncertain, you need to understand you have a very narrow window. This is your last chance to voluntarily set up an affordable repayment plan before aggressive action starts. Now in this video, I am going to clearly explain the official red flags lenders and authorities use to identify fraud, okay? I'm going to talk about what the aggressive new recovery measures are and that they're launching imminently. And I'm going to clearly tell you what directors who overstated turnover must urgently do right now to avoid this enforcement action and the consequences, okay? So if you are concerned or you're stressed about your bounce back loan, I want you to understand this. Ignoring this situation could lead directly to big problems. Personal liability, bank account seizures, financial damage. Seriously. Knowing exactly what the red flags people are looking for will help you take proactive steps to protect yourself today. Chris Worden, Director First, welcome to the video. Now, the government and the powers that be have had to promote consistency in fraud detection, right? So the British Business Bank has defined specific red flags that lenders and the authorities are using to identify potential bounce back loan fraud or misrepresentation. So that could be HMRC, it could be the insolvency service, it could be the bank that lent you the money, right? And they're matching the data that you've provided against HMRC records and bank transactions. So let's, for instance, say, I don't know, you said your turnover was 200 grand and you got a 50 grand bounce back loan. But your accounts don't say the same and you never registered for VAT. Now everyone's talking together. It's a red flag that you've been at it. In fact, they already know what's gone on. If you've done something you shouldn't, like inflated your turnover, the powers that be already know, okay? Now, here are some red flags that they are looking at identifying. First one is that the company, the applicant was not trading on or before March the 1st, 2020. But what does that mean? Well, listen, if you just had a limited company set up, but there was no trade before March the 1st, 2020, then you shouldn't have took a bounce back loan. If there was trade, and that could be research and it could have been development, it could be setting up the business, setting up the website. As long as you can demonstrate that you were trading previous, that should be enough to have a defence against that. Another one is the business was in liquidation, dissolved, or it was pending dissolution before receiving the bounce back loan. Another one, big in this, your company was dormant. So you filed accounts with Companies House for 19 or 20 that said accounts for a dormant company. Now, over the last 5 years, I have forgotten how many people have said to me, Chris, I took a 50 grand bounce back loan. We have a look on Companies House and there's accounts for a dormant company. And they say, oh, we got it wrong, the accountant got it wrong. If you filed company accounts that are dormant in 19 or 20 and you took a bounce back loan, you shouldn't have. There's going to be no way you can argue that down. Obviously, the big one is people inflating turnover in applications. So you was allowed to claim 25% of your total turnover in 2019. So if you turned over 100, you could have took 25. Turned over 200, you could have took 50, right? You could only project your turnover if you was incorporated after the 1st of January 2019, okay? Another big red flag is rapid cash withdrawals shortly after the loan's been received. Come on, you put 50 grand in the Monday and by 2 weeks later there's 50 grand took out in cash. Big red flag, okay? Another red flag, remember we all have data now to look at this. There's been a lack of genuine business activity in the bank accounts post-loan drawdown. No wages, no tax payments, no business transactions. Remember, everyone's talking now. So the HMRC and the Insolvency Service and the British Business Bank and the bank that lent you the money, they can all talk and they can all see what's going on. So if you took the loan out, you basically withdrawed the loan, but there's been no trading activity, you're in the sights. Another one is multiple bounce back loans secured by a single individual or a company. You could only take one. There was a guy who recently, he took two in one company, spent it on a bloody luxury house in Cheshire, just got a 2-year suspended sentence, okay? Another thing that they're looking for is falsified documentation to prove that you were trading prior to March 2020, okay? Another thing is if you were subject to a debt relief order, an IVA or a bankruptcy at the time of application. Now you need to understand if any of these red flags apply to your situation, even unintentionally, you are at risk of imminent aggressive enforcement action. Because the authorities are now using data analytics that have been provided by the Cabinet Office, the HMRC, lenders and the Public Sector Fraud Authority. And they've been able to clearly match turnover figures declared on bounce back loan applications with official tax data. Now this data matching has highlighted discrepancies and it's marking individuals for further investigation and aggressive recovery. Now, this is the step-by-step process I want you to follow if anything that I have said has struck a nerve with you. Now, first of all, you need to understand that you can still set up a repayment plan immediately, and this hopefully will protect you. Because if you can immediately sort of compile income and expenditure in your business and see what you can afford to pay back, right? That's the message here. If you've done something you shouldn't, you've got to try and pay back the loan, even over extended terms. Now, if your business has stopped trading, but you've done something with your bounce back loan that you shouldn't, my advice to you is what can you afford to personally pay into the company to pay back the bounce back loan? And then you've got to contact your lender immediately. And the chances are if you've just been ignoring him, it won't be a lender anymore. It'll be a appointed debt collector like the Zinc Group, Moorcroft or Westcott. Pick the phone up to them and tell them that you want to set up a repayment plan. And you state the affordable amount that you can afford, and it's highly likely that they will accept that amount, okay? They can't force you to pay something that's unaffordable. Now, once you've set up your standing order or your direct debit, make sure that you pay this. It's dead important now. Now, there's a lot of mistakes that people are making. And almost, even I've sort of said, when it comes to bounce back loan, you know, you can kick it into the long grass. That's changed. You know, that has changed now. If you've done something wrong, or even if you've not done something wrong, don't delay in contacting the lender, okay? Declare if you're suffering financial hardship or vulnerability. You know, they'll support you. There are flexible repayment options that are available. I mean, each lender's a little bit different in its approach, but I mean, Lloyds, Barclays, Virgin Money, NatWest, Starling, Metrobank, they will help you set up affordable repayment plans. But you've got to communicate with them honestly, and you'll generally receive a positive response, okay? It's very rare you'll get a lender that's difficult. So I want you to follow these steps. Today, find out what you can afford, right? Tomorrow, pick the phone up to the lender or the debt collection company, make an offer. The day after, make sure that you've set up your standing order of direct debit and keep paying it, okay? Now, if you act proactively at this stage, right, you're going to strengthen your position because there is a new bill that's coming in and it's going to receive royal assent soon. And the minute that it does, your opportunity's out the window and you're going to start to see individuals and businesses pursued more aggressively. As I see, you've got two choices. Do nothing, and that is going to risk aggressive enforcement, okay? Or take action immediately. Set up an affordable repayment and hopefully protect yourself. So I hope you found the video useful. Remember, if you've done something wrong with your bounce back loan, I can't help you. That's why I'm giving you these free videos. I've done tons of videos, and if you want to see the next one on bounce back loan fraud, it's there.